Okay, so to introduce the video, I'm going to talk a little bit about software engineering and what are the factors when you're job hunting. Because it's come up in conversation a lot, of course, recently, and I don't think I realized how much detail there was that wasn't clear to anyone not directly involved. So I've been a software engineer since 1996. And I guess I could even start with the term software engineer, because there are a few different ways to call that general set of abilities. The fundamental task is a knowledge of how to write words that result in something that a computer can understand so that it can do a new thing. Do something that you didn't have the ability to do before. And those are called programs. And that's sometimes called computer programming. And then, of course, software engineering, software development, and I'm sure there are other terms I'm not thinking of, but they all refer to a similar thing with possibly slightly different connotations. Like the connotation being that a computer programmer is somebody solely involved in writing the code, writing those words that teach the computer how to do something different. And a software engineer might be thought to be someone who's more involved also with design, with making decisions about how things need to be addressed and what the result should be like. There are some variations, but software engineer, computer programmer, developer, or either computer or software, are roughly the same class of job. If you move up to a title that includes something like architect, then you're definitely in the realm of design and decision making about technologies you're going to use and what the end result is supposed to be like, and so on and so forth. So, software architect. Yeah. Alright, so there's that. And that's just kind of defining the job. But when one of us is looking for a job, this isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. I'll go into this factor and then explain afterward how it applies. So, the factor is the language or languages that you are skilled with and the degree of skill with those languages. As I said, you're writing words to try and tell the computer how to do a new thing. And that's usually accomplished by choosing what language you're going to write it in. Oh my God, speed up, we're getting on the highway. People are terrible at this. Wow, that guy is a terrible driver. He slowed down in front of me and then gunned it. He should have sped up to the speed of highway on the on-ramp. Inconsiderate asshole. Sorry. That's the the cost of making these videos while I'm driving, is that I am sometimes interrupted. So language that you are writing your software in, that you are skilled with. And I'm going to use a couple examples. The language I am expert in is C#. I'm very good at working in it, and I have been using it for, I think, 20 years or so. And I'm keeping up to date with the improvements and updates. I am keeping up with the trends, and I love C#. And another example of a language is Java. It is kind of the main competitor for compiled languages with C#. And they're both actually C-based languages. You may or may not have heard that C was a language that was probably the most well-known, kind of alongside BASIC or Visual Basic. You've probably heard words like COBOL, maybe even assembly, but that's not a language people usually write in. That's kind of a machine language that is kind of a step between what we write and what the computer actually does. There are also scripting languages. One you may have heard of is JavaScript. And JavaScript has nothing to do with Java. Like they're not the same in any way. And I mentioned compiled languages with C# and Java and some of those older languages. And that, what happens is that you write your words down in the specific way, and something called a compiler takes your words that you wrote and turns it into a thing like an executable that the computer can understand. With a scripting language like JavaScript or Perl or Python, which are really big popular languages right now, they are not compiled. They are not turned into an executable that can run on its own. They are interpreted languages. They run on whatever computer you're on, as long as there's an application, a program that understands that script language. So like JavaScript is primarily a scripting language that is understood by browsers. So you'll hear JavaScript in reference to the web and web applications a lot. And people have made frameworks or libraries that use JavaScript that are based on JavaScript. You may have heard things like Angular or Bootstrap or jQuery, or Node.js, or Node's a little different, but but they're all based on JavaScript. And so JavaScript is kind of a cool language that is at the heart of any web page that has a good amount of interactivity. If you go to a page that can change its values without actually going back to the server and doing a new page refresh, that's done with JavaScript. Even if they're using those libraries like jQuery, Bootstrap, or Angular, under the hood, that's JavaScript that's powering it. And what's happening, again, is that the browser understands JavaScript. The JavaScript is loaded into the browser, and when you do things with the web page, the browser is either making a new HTTP request to the server, and the server does things, or the JavaScript on the page is communicating with the server in the background, which is very cool. So these are all languages that a software engineer can be familiar with. As I said, my expertise is in C#. I've written some Java code before, enough to make me very strongly dislike Java. Like, not only am I not skilled in it, but I think it's poorly laid out and not well supported, and I would much rather stay in the world of C#. And then I have a good amount of experience writing web applications, but prior to most of those JavaScript frameworks that I talked about. So I'm very good with JavaScript, but I'm not an expert in it anymore, especially since people seem to prefer using those frameworks that are based on it. So, like, I don't get into the world of professional web application development anymore because the languages, those monikers that you need to have on your resume are not things that I have. I don't know my way around Angular. I don't know my way around Bootstrap. I guess Vue is another one, and there are so many of them. But the thing is, too, that like what that does is kind of silo us. And this is what I was going to get to next, and what I was thinking about so much before I started in on the languages description. When I'm looking for jobs, I am looking for that keyword, C#.net. Like, that's what I am expert in and what I can call for a high salary in. If I were to try to apply to a job in Java, or that requires Java expertise, I would probably just be passed over. But I could potentially apply to a non-senior position, like a junior level, entry level position for that, not because of any particular skill with Java, but because I have a lot of experience with software engineering in general, and I could probably learn the task well in time, and that's hopefully the expectation of employers when they're looking for junior level developers. But of course, then I'm accepting like a drastically lower salary. And that shouldn't be that way either, by the way. Companies shouldn't be able to get away with paying people not even a living wage just because they're new to it. It's still their time and their effort. Like, yeah, whatever. That's another topic entirely. So, when job hunting, not only are there different languages, but there are industries that look for people who have experience in those industries. Like writing code for medical devices is different than writing code to run a cash register. Like the amount of scrutiny the code needs to go through, and how reliably error-free it is different. So the industry can affect what other needs there are, and companies will look for experience in the same industry so that they know that you have some awareness, at least, of other factors that go into that job. So even if I find something that's C#, if it's specific, if the industry has specific needs and has some experience in related technologies to their industry that I don't have, I'm not going to be a good candidate for that job either, even though it's C# and I have an expert level of skill in C#. Well, gonna have to stop the video for now, or pause. I'll pause. All right. Sorry, I just had to stop the car and say hi to someone walking. So industry has an effect on it. And when a language is capable of being used in a lot of different contexts, like the context matters. So like Python and Perl are becoming like really popular, and can act well in a fairly wide variety of situations, but like that again is a thing that divides us. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the generalist versus specialist. Almost all of what I just talked about, from the language to the industry to the context the code is running in, having an impact on whether or not you can find the job, is leaning toward the specialist side. Like they need a specific set of skills, and they're looking to fill a role that can do that. The problem with being a specialist, of course, is having to find exact matches, or at least something that's very close and where the misses are small related to the more important factors. So there are software engineers out there that are more generalist, and they just kind of do what needs to be done. Like, oh, this would be done better in Perl, so we're going to do it in Perl. And this should better be done with a compiled language, so we're going to pick Java because that's in the same stack of technologies as Perl. Like, this person can't have nearly the depth of expertise of raw knowledge in a given thing, in a given language, that a specialist has. But they have enough experience with a wide variety of things to be able to make good choices, and to at least know what questions to ask. And so the generalist, the generalist is somebody that might even have a harder time finding the same kind of job that I would look for. But a hiring manager might look at a generalist and say, all right, this person doesn't have the specific skill I'm looking for, but they have a great deal of knowledge and experience and the ability to learn what I need, which is more important to me, having someone I know can eventually do it than finding a unicorn. And because I'm not, I have aspects of my experience that are generalist, like my experience with web applications, but I don't have any of the specific stuff now. But my job search has focused pretty well on my expertise, because that's the part I can ask for the best salary for. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that a generalist might have a harder time in some ways, but an easier time in others. And so, yeah, it's not going to be a 0 or a 1 for this description, but I hope it was at least clear enough to help it make more sense to somebody who's not in the software engineering field. Yeah. All right. I think that's pretty much the end of the video. Maybe there are more questions you have that I didn't address, that you can ask in the comments. I'll try to pay attention. And thanks for listening.